Hey guys, it is Amanda Wares and Melanie Willis here with the Homeschool Show from North Carolinians for Home Education. We are so happy to have you watching and listening today. So, Melanie, what do we have on the show?
So this episode is a special episode where we talk about special needs in homeschooling. And you actually sat down and had an interview with Nikki Cooper, who is our special needs support coordinator for NCHE. And she's just a wonderful member of your team. And then several months ago, I sat down with Catherine Marker of the Exceptional Children's Assistance Center for North Carolina. And she's going to talk to us about ESA Plus and what all you will need to do in order to apply for that. Afterwards, we will have some news and then talk about our special episode for next week.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's watch those interviews. I am here with Nikki Cooper, who is the Special Needs Support Coordinator. She's a part of our Homeschool Helps team. We help special populations of homeschoolers to do so with confidence and joy. And I have been so looking forward to this interview. It's going to be a blast. So, hey, Nikki, and would you introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about you and your family for our audience?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Amanda. My name's Nikki Cooper. I joined NCHE in this role, in April. So it's only been a few months. My family and I come from a background of education. Between my husband and I, there's 5 degrees related to learning and helping others. But with that, we found that the classroom just wasn't the best place for our own kids. And that moved us to the homeschooling world. Now, given all of my background with helping students in the classroom, as well as helping community families meet the needs of their special learners, I have really just had a pull at my heart to be able to serve beyond my triangle area. So when Amanda put out the call for, is there anyone that has background in this or interest, it was like, yes, me. We have 3 kids. We live just outside of Raleigh in a town called Wake Forest. We used to say it's small, but it's getting much larger. And we have 3 kids, ages 10, 9, and 4. We are homeschooling all 3 of them. And I can say that we, in our own house, work with special needs students. So I have a personal connection to this. I also want to be able to help others that are struggling at home. And I want them to feel empowered and loved and know that they are doing the best for their kid. And we'll talk more about that in a minute.
That's awesome. So, what would you say is the most common question or concern that you get?
Yeah, so there's a couple of buckets related to that. One main one that comes in a lot is we are looking to transition out of a public school environment, or we have an IEP, and what happens with that when we come into the homeschool world? What does that look like? Related to the IEP question, there are families that find out about an IEP or what that they've heard it and they've always been homeschooled. So they want direction on how can we go about acquiring that at home. So the IEP bucket is pretty full. There also come questions related to, do you have recommendations for specific curriculums or specific tests that we can use to get information to help determine curriculums for homeschooling? I think those would be the 2 biggest in finding what can meet the needs of my learner or learners at home. And if I'm going to go the IEP route, what does that look like in homeschool, or how do I start that process? Those would be the biggest 2.
Yeah, for sure. And would you agree that the special needs, struggling learner community in homeschooling is, if not the fastest growing, one of the fastest growing populations?
Hands down. Absolutely, hands down. A lot of students that are transitioning to homeschool post-COVID, right? Everybody had to do it for a little bit. We all dipped our toes in the bucket, but post-COVID, a lot of people that are moving into this realm are looking to serve their learners in a way that is more meaningful. And so there is a huge, we'll say, wave or surge of energy moving towards this because every
Yeah.
student doesn't learn the same way. And so to be able to provide what they need in an environment where they're comfortable to be themselves and
Mhm.
not having to sit and be focused for so long in a day when it can all be accomplished in much less time. It's definitely one of the fastest growing populations. I would argue it is the fastest growing, but we'll say it's up there to
Yeah.
meet the needs of the learners. The
Yeah.
problem there becomes while people are moving to homeschool, the parents get very overwhelmed. There's this almost undue stress or expectation that now I have to be a teacher and I wasn't trained for that. And so one of the biggest messages I'm pushing to most parents that reach out is the fact that God gave you your son or daughter for a reason. You are already the best teacher, fully equipped to give them everything they need, and there is no teaching license required. You have what you need. Sometimes we need a little guidance on, strategies to help or curriculums that match, but you are fully prepared and equipped to do that. So, yes, it is definitely one of the biggest waves. I just want it
Yeah.
to be a wave that sticks or lands and doesn't retreat. I don't want parents to feel isolated.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. And I hear that a lot too. It seems like to me, maybe this is just me, but I've been around the homeschool community a long time. It seems like the resources and groups for those special learners maybe has not caught up to the wave. Would you agree with that?
I would agree. I consider myself to be in one of the more populated areas of the state, right? Everyone hears and knows of the triangle. And while there are many even in this area, there are still some needs that just aren't being met or covered. While that the co-ops in those groups, they become pushed for this you need to socialize your kid situation. We can get to
Mhm.
that later, but this push that you need to join a group such as that may not always fit those needs. And call to action for those that are interested in starting groups to help support families. It's definitely an area that I think the state as a whole could grow to better empower and serve our special needs learners for sure.
Yeah. I've kind of had that particular need on my heart for a while because I do hear that, oh, we have a special needs kid. They want friends. We need people, but where do we go? Because maybe a traditional co op or whatever might not be the best fit. So
Yeah.
I think that is something to think about for all of you out there. If you know of a group or if you want to start a group, be in touch with us. We'd love to hear about that.
Yes.
Um,
And support you along the way. I think so. When people will email in, I can respond back. There have been families that I've been able to call and talk through some things. And especially when it comes to homeschooling the needs of a special needs learner,
mhm,
you have to give yourself grace. I mean, homeschoolers need to do that in it already, right? But give yourself permission to make a change.
yeah,
Do not feel obligated to stick with something if it's not a good fit. Sure, you can set a goal of a window, right? 3 to 6 weeks, 3 to 6 months, whatever it is, to try out what you're attempting to do. But if
mhm,
it doesn't fit the needs of your family as an entire family unit and the needs of your learner, it's completely fine to pivot.
that's
Give
right.
yourself permission to do that. Don't feel like there's this expectation to stay in something that's not serving all of you, right? This needs to be where we preserve connection. I say it all the time, connection over curriculum or connection over
Oh,
socialization. So hold fast to that and give yourself permission to know it's okay to change. Change is where some of the best growth happens.
that is phenomenal. I am going to remember that. It's going to stick in my head. That's so good. If you were to speak to just in general the families out there that are watching and listening to this, maybe they're thinking about homeschooling their special needs learner, or maybe they have already started. What else would you tell them? what would be your best advice?
Number one, you are the best teacher for your learner. Hands down, no questions asked, no degree, certificate, training, none of it is needed. You are fully equipped to meet the needs of your learner because you know them best. So have faith in yourself, give yourself some grace. Number one, you're the best teacher there is. Period. Full stop. Number two, sort of what we just said, be willing to pivot when needed because you're in it for the long haul. Okay. When you make this decision, you are looking to do what meets the needs of your learner and your family. And it's going to take time to find your groove. So be patient with yourself, give yourself grace, do the same for your kids. Let's be honest. I think reminding us that we are not alone would be the third one, even though it can feel extremely isolating. Um, I said we have 5 education degrees between my husband and I, and the first year of homeschooling was hard, mainly because we felt like we were alone and we thought we're the only ones struggling with this type of meltdown or this type of avoidance or that, like it can
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
so isolating. So,
Mhm.
number 3, when you start to feel isolated, that's when you need to seek out connection. That's when you can
Mm.
come to NCHE. If you're not already a member, please join. Come to NCHE. We've got different groups on Facebook that can help connect. We have a special needs one as well. Reach out to me. Get in touch with someone, a friend, a family member, someone from church. But get yourself connected so that you can hear that you are not alone. Now,
Mm.
I have one more
So
before I
good.
get there. There is the likelihood that you do have a specific situation that may not be able to you may not be able to find a connection that replicates exactly what's going on, but you will
Yeah.
always be able to find someone that can listen. And
Mm.
listening and processing is half the battle. Okay. We met some families at Thrive this past spring that,
Mhm.
in my mind, I thought, I know everything there is to know that could be out there. Not that I'm an expert, but I've at least heard of it. And sitting in a room with approximately 25 people, there were 2 new special needs situations that I had never considered or heard of. And so to remind ourselves that yes, we are struggling and everyone's hard might be different, but you don't have to struggle alone, right? So that number 3 would be get connected. I have one more. Number 4 is that connection over curriculum. So loving your family, doing things together. There is so much organic learning that can happen that you don't need to force curriculum or force things if it's not going to be helpful for you or for your family. There's this level of expectation that we have to get it right or we have a certain timeline or whatever that might be. So I think those would be the big ones.
That is so, so well said and so amazing. And now you all know why I am so blessed and we are so blessed to have Nikki. She's so awesome. All right. Last but not least, if someone wants to get in touch with you, if they have a question or whatever, how can they do that?
Yeah, so the easiest way is to email specialneeds@nche.com. We are checking email regularly. It might take a day or two to get back to you, but you're not alone. I will get back. Some people ask for specific resources, and that might take a little more time to gather, but we want to be able to serve and empower you and help you feel connected. So specialneeds@nche.com, and you'll get me.
Amazing. I love that so much. And thank you for taking time out of your busy day to share with me and share with our audience.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to serve.
I just love Nikki. And I love that she is so passionate about encouraging and equipping families that are dealing with any kind of special needs. Absolutely. I think that people like Nikki can show us that we are equipped and that we still are the best people to take care of our children. And she's very inspiring. She's super sweet. Absolutely. We have a page on our website dedicated just to special needs homeschooling. It has information, some frequently asked questions, a list of resources, and how you can get in touch with Nikki to get that special support that you may need. So you just need to go to nche.com/helps/special needs, and you'll find it there. We'll also link it in the show notes.
All right. It's good to be talking with you today. Would you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about what your role is?
Sure. I'm Catherine Marker, and I'm the director of the K-12 scholarship programs at our state agency. So that's the Opportunity Scholarship and the ESA Plus. And our agency is the North Carolina State Education Assistance Authority, which is a mouthful, SEAA for short. And we're the state agency tasked with administering these two programs.
Very good. Very good. And so if you could just kind of explain to our audience for a minute what the ESA Plus program is.
Sure. The Education Student Accounts, which we call ESA Plus, and that's a program for students with a disability whose family wants to enroll them in a homeschool or private school. And income is not a consideration for ESA Plus.
And if you could explain what a disability, what types of disabilities we're talking about.
Sure, that's a good point because the disability is as noted by a public school IEP team. So that's the documentation of a disability. So it's a disability that a student means that a student is in need of special education. Disability can mean a lot of things to different people, so I'm glad you asked that question. But the documentation is the eligibility determination from a North Carolina public school.
Okay. And as homeschoolers, how would we go about obtaining that?
Another good question. So public schools will evaluate children who aren't enrolled and attending. So you could, as a parent, go up to your local public school and say, I'd like to have my child evaluated. I believe my child has a disability. And they should do that. It's a complicated process. And if a child's not enrolled, I could see where a parent would be hesitant just because it's sort of opaque. And there is an organization that helps parents in public school or not work with that process. It's the Exceptional Children's Assistance Center, ECAC. And they're a North Carolina nonprofit and have a number of parent liaisons who work with other parents to advise about the public school process. And that's absolutely who I would call if I were a homeschool parent and wanted to pursue, a review, an evaluation, they call it.
Very good. And as for your audience right now, we will include links to these in the show notes below so that you can easily access those. And so then how do homeschool families access the program and what does that process look like?
So both programs, the Opportunity Scholarship and the ESA, have an application period that opens in February each year for the upcoming school year. And families would want to apply during that time frame because it's a priority application period. And even if the application stays open longer, which it doesn't always, it would be to a parent's advantage to apply in February. So you'd want to kind of plan ahead for that. A family chooses a school. If it's homeschool, they say, I'm choosing homeschool. And then if eligible, and then awarded, a homeschool family would access ESA Plus funds for curriculum, for tutoring, for therapies, books, technology. So there are a number of things that would be expenses related to educating a child with a disability or simply educating a child. Like the technology doesn't always have to be assistive technology. It could be a computer. So some of the things that parents would purchase or pay for are very targeted to therapeutic, therapies or products, but other things are more mainstream, like a laptop.
Very good. And lastly, is there anything else that you feel like homeschoolers need to know in reference to what you do?
If I were a homeschool parent now and I were thinking about this, if my child had not already been evaluated by a public school, which it would be understandable if the child's been in a homeschool, then I would start now, spring, and think about the public school, the process, because it can be unpredictable, time consuming, and it can be frustrating to parents when it's January and they're thinking, oh, I'm going to apply for this program in February. The timing would not allow for that evaluation to occur. So timing is good now. A parent could make their plans, start the first of fall, working with the public school, have the document, and then be ready to apply in February. So it is a program for students with disabilities.
And so, and back to what we had said before is reference to going to the public school to get that IEP paper. That is the only way. There's no doctor's notes or anything like that.
Right. That's right. It's the only route. And if you're familiar with some of the public school special education processes, a couple things. One, a 504 plan, which is another tool that schools will use with children with disabilities, that does not qualify a student for the program. It has to be through the IEP process, but it doesn't have to be the full IEP, which is a plan and a way for the schools to map out how they're going to treat a student with a disability. The program doesn't require that. It requires the evaluation. And so if the child is deemed eligible for North Carolina Public School special education, that's where the process could stop, because if this child's not going to attend a public school, they may not need that full plan. And so it's called an eligibility determination. Actually, on our website, there is a screenshot of how that document typically looks, and there's a description, kind of a bullet list of what it contains. Because even if your child has been evaluated, you may have
Right.
determination.
Well, and it's worth noting here that also when you have that IEP, it can follow your child into college, the community college, or wherever. And so if you do have a disability, it's really good to have that on hand because it does help
Right.
to continue down the road.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you very, very much for your time today.
All right. Thank you so much.
So this ESA Plus program has been a game changer for a lot of families with kids with special needs that are homeschooling, but maybe they need therapies or technology that the families themselves just struggle to provide. And so being able to apply for this program I have talked to a number of families that have been so helped by that. So I really appreciated Catherine sitting down with you and telling you about that. I also want to encourage everybody out there, and we'll link this in the show notes also, to just visit the ECAC, Exceptional Children's Assistance Center. Their website has tons of resources. They are doing webinars and sending out just different helpful newsletters and things all the time. It's a wonderful resource as well. All right. Well, now for our news.
Hey everybody, this is Lim Pierre here, and I'm here to bring you the homeschool news. We at NCHE have just launched our end-of-year giving campaign. For more than 40 years, homeschool families across North Carolina have been building strong foundations for their children, protecting their freedom to learn at home, and shaping a hopeful future for families. NCHE exists to champion that work, equipping families, strengthening communities, and standing watch to safeguard your rights. Now, your giving fuels the mission families depend on, supporting what we built, defending the freedom that you rely on, and expanding the vision for the next generation of homeschoolers. Your generosity strengthens the work that NCHE is doing to support homeschool families in North Carolina. NCHE is here to support you, and your gift ensures that thousands of families see the same encouragement and protection that you value. You can give online at nche.com/give. Now, I know all of y'all have been waiting for this, so here it is. The 2026 NCHE Scholarship applications have just opened. The scholarship categories are as follows: academics, arts, community service, scholar athlete, and lastly, missions and ministry. To apply, visit our Graduate Central on the website, nche.com. Now next, are you all ready for Christmas? You got your tree up and got all your gifts wrapped? Well, tickets for NCHE Day at the Hornets, Faith and Family Day are now on sale. This is the perfect Christmas gift for this season. When's the game? The game is Saturday, January 24th, 2026 at the Spectrum Center in Charlotte, North Carolina. Get your ticket now, wrap it up, and hide it under the tree. You can visit the website, nche.com/activities, and purchase your tickets now. And lastly, in our chess network news, our spring semester online chess workshop will take place January 8th at 11 a.m. And our annual midwinter chess tournament will take place February 7th at Hillcrest Baptist Church. That's in Kernsville, North Carolina. You can visit our website at nche.com and hover over the activities menu and select Chess Network. And there you have it. That's the NCHE Homeschool News. My name is Lynn Pierre, and I want you to have an exceedingly and abundantly blessed day.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rick Madel, and I'm on the NCHE board. And I'm here to talk with Matthew McDill, our Executive Director of NCHE, about our year-end campaign. We're looking at 3 big ways that NCHE serves homeschool families. Last week, we talked about the foundation of NCHE and what we have built over the last 40 years. And today, we're focusing on protection, the work that NCHE does to defend homeschool freedom here in North Carolina. Matthew, why is protecting homeschool freedom such an important part of NCHE's mission?
Yeah, great question. One of our core values for NCHE is parental authority, which means that we really believe that the parents are the ones who should have the freedom to determine the scope and sequence of homeschooling. And so what we don't want is increased government regulation on parents. We want them to be free to do that. So, we've been working hard over the last 40 years to establish the good homeschool laws we have. And now we have a strong legislative committee and our chairperson, Spencer Mason, who keeps an eye on all our legislation to make sure that we keep great laws in North Carolina.
Okay, well, tell us, when was the last time that North Carolina homeschoolers faced a piece of legislation that could have impacted every homeschool family? Can you kind of walk us through that and tell us what happened and how NCHE responded?
Yeah, so it's been a number of years now, fortunately, but back in 2020, there was a piece of legislation that didn't appear to be about homeschooling at all. It was really about changing some education policy for military families. And so in it part of it was about homeschooling. And so it was requiring the military families to identify themselves, but it was also requiring every homeschool family to reopen their homeschool every year. So this was going to be not only a security issue for the military families because they didn't want to reveal their identities, but for security reasons, but also that was going to be an increased regulation for homeschool families, because if they failed to reopen their homeschool, then their schools would get shut down. And so we opposed that bill. And so what happened was Spencer and the committee were able to identify very quickly this hidden part of the bill. We contacted the legislators. We were trying to help them change the wording. We informed homeschool families, and they were kind of activated to reach out to their representatives and senators. And then while it was still in committee, Spencer went to Raleigh, and Dan Beasley at the time, who was our HSLDA rep, also came to Raleigh, and both of them testified in committee. And so it barely stopped it, but it did prevent it from coming out of committee. So anyway, that's just one example of how NCHE is really vigilant to make sure that we keep the freedoms that we have now.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Yeah, definitely important work there. And we've also seen challenges come up in other states. What kind of legislative pressures are homeschoolers facing nationally, and what does that mean for homeschoolers in North Carolina?
Yeah, so we've seen some increased regulation recently that has been really concerning. And the Coalition for Responsible Home Education is a national group. And that sounds like a great name, doesn't it? I mean, of course, we want to have responsible home education. But their view is that the way that we have responsible home education is to increase government oversight and regulations of homeschool families. And so we fundamentally oppose that. And so they have created a model bill that increases a lot of regulations, a lot more reporting and oversight. And so we saw that piece of legislation, for example, pop up in Illinois. And the homeschool leaders there fought a really big battle against this attempt to increase regulations. Some other similar legislation popped up in Virginia, and they're fighting that. And the goal of CRHE is for this kind of legislation to be available in any of the states. And these other states were not expecting this to happen. We are just going to have to be ready. We don't know when or who might pick up this or other legislation that might increase government oversight and regulation, which we don't think is helpful to the being responsible or to the safety or educational benefit of homeschool families. And so that's why we think that this next year, 2026, we need to continue to be especially vigilant.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that story of how NCHE is on the front lines for homeschoolers. And given all that, can you tell us how can homeschool families in the state partner with NCHE to protect homeschool freedom here?
Yeah. So obviously, make sure that you're on our email list and following us on social media, because if anything comes up, we're going to make sure that you know what that is and how to respond. And then otherwise, right now, here at the end of the year, we are trying to raise funds in order to meet our budget and to fuel our efforts next year. Supporting NCHE financially is a wonderful way to partner with us so that we have the manpower and the time to run all the operations we have with NCHE, and especially be watching out for legislation and taking trips to Raleigh and talking to our representatives and senators and continuing to fight and protect in this way. So folks can go to nche.com/give, and that's where they can find out how to give on a regular basis or just to this end of year campaign to help keep us going.
All right. Well, Matthew, thank you for talking with us today.
All right. Thanks, Rick.
And so next week, Amanda, we have our very special holiday episode as we finish out 2025 and the homeschool show. And so I hope you will all join us as we look at holiday traditions and just lots of fun stuff as we move into our Christmas spirit time.
Yes, I cannot wait. Cannot wait to share with you all the wonderful traditions that were shared with us. So, as always, please help us out by liking, sharing, subscribing. Send us your comments, your questions, your suggestions to thehomeschoolshow@nche.com. And until next time, keep homeschooling with confidence and joy. Bye-bye.